Welcome back to the brand new Pioneers in Aged Care podcast. Today's guest is Timothy Lowe, Head of Training at Amana Living. I can't wait to share this conversation with you because Timothy is probably my first friend in aged care. He would be considered ground zero in terms of opening my eyes to this amazing industry. So I'm so blessed to finally have him on the show. The sponsors for this episode is cCre. Click the link below to check them out. Until then, let's go. Welcome back to the Pioneers in Aged Care podcast. My guest on the third episode of the podcast is Timothy Lowe, and he's head of the Amana Living Training Institute.
Hey, Anthony.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
No, I've been waiting to have you on because I know this would be a really relaxing conversation with you because I've known you for some time. We've been friends for some time.
Yes, we have.
And you're one of the people who started my interest in aged care because of the people that are in it. And I'm going to share that with the audience a bit later.
Yeah.
But for now, could you give and share with the audience a bit about Amana Living and also Amana Living Training Institute?
Sure. So I know that you had a previous guest, Stephen Thomas.
Yes.
So he's the Chief People Officer, and I think he gave a bit of background in terms of Amana Living. And as we know, Amana Living, located in WA, is one of the largest not-for-profits, aged care services provider, or provider in aged care services with residential aged care sites and days clubs, and also obviously home care services. So that, I think that's no secret in terms of where Amana Living is. And
how many facilities altogether do you think?
So there's 13.
13?
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously, it's been around for about 60 years. So, quite a good brand.
Yeah,
very good brand.
Very good brand.
Very good history and very good reputation in terms of providing care and services.
And you head up the Amana Living Training Institute.
I do, yes. Been given the opportunity to do that. The Training Institute is located separately from the corporate office for Amana Living. We're actually located on Great Eastern Highway in Rivervale. We've got a whole training institute by ourselves in terms of occupying 2 floors. There are other offices there, but we occupy 2 floors of it, and with a generous amount of space there. So number of classrooms that can accommodate a huge number of students coming through. And we've got 44 staff in total, permanents and casuals. We've got a very big team of trainers. So we've got about 16, 17 trainers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and the rest of them would be what I call support services or administration, enrollment officers, client services officers, and I support 5 managers across those service portfolios.
So how does that work? Do you take, in terms of these students that come through, where do they come from and where do they go after? What roles do they get into after?
So the students that come to us basically go into one of the courses that we provide, and either a Cert 3 in disability or aged care, or a Cert 3 or 4 in allied health assistance. We do also provide Cert 4 in community services and also Cert 4 in aging support. So there are a number of pathways for the students to come through to us, and depending on whether they're currently working in the industry or whether they're not, they come through, they finish their qualification, and then they've got opportunities to either return back to their employer with nationally recognized qualification, or they're ready for their next step of employment or adventure, basically, in the industry. So
Because I've heard of RTOs where they do the same thing, but I haven't heard of too many aged care providers have their own RTO.
Yeah, we're one of the few in the country
Yeah.
And I would think, I dare say, that we're the only one with a not-for-profit aged care service provider.
And that's a really good idea because as a provider, you would experience what every other provider experiences in terms of finding staff. But now you're providing this training institute to attract staff.
Yes. So there are a few good things that that would come out of this initiative. One is, as you said, recruitment, finding staff, and being a direct feeder back to Amana Living. But the other thing is that being in the industry and keeping in touch and being a part of Amana Living gives us the opportunity to keep abreast of what the industry needs.
Yeah.
And where the industry is flowing in terms of workforce, in terms of skills, technology, being able to offer placements, and partnering that with Amana Living.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's been very beneficial for us to be able to attract students and to be able to give them that assurance that they can complete their course with us.
So you've been in this role for how long now?
I'm very young in this role. I'm 8 months old in this role.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in that time, I'm sure you would have had some moments where because this is your first training role.
It is.
You would have had some moments where you felt proud of something that you've achieved.
So I'm very proud of the team, I must say that. And I'm very proud of the team we affectionately call ALTI, A-L-T-I. So let me pronounce that correctly with my accent. ALTI, and I'm really proud of the team. There have been some changes within the leadership across the board in ALTI, and one of the things that I'm really proud of was that we've managed to get through our re-registration audit, and that's from the training council. So that gives us our license to operate as an RTO for the next 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so really proud of that, of the team pulling together and working with me through the audit and getting that.
It's so funny that, of course, you would say, when I ask you a question, what are you proud of? What are your moments of achievements? You would say, I'm proud of the team. Of course you would say that because I remember there was something that you said in one of the first few meetings that we had when I was still getting to know you. And I think I asked something along the lines of what is success to you? And you said, I'm successful if my team is successful.
Yep.
And that has stuck with me.
Yep.
And then here you go, talking about your team's success again.
Oh, I have beautiful people in my team. They're wonderful, they're competent, they're professional, but they're wonderful humans, basically. And I'll give you an example and this is a heart-stopping moment for me when I think back. We had one of our staff meetings as soon as I landed there, and I asked everybody, what do you think our purpose was as an organization? And we had, hands raised up in the room and everybody shouting answer. It was a fun time, what our purpose was. And we eventually landed on this one thing that everybody agreed on. We wanted to change lives. That's our purpose. And some may think that it's quite nebulous for a training organization to say that because we've never, in that conversation, my team didn't talk about products. We didn't talk about students. We didn't talk about KPIs or numbers. We talked about changing lives by making education accessible to people who are interested in joining the organization or finding a job, and changing lives if they are migrants to this great country, and being on the pathway of being a support worker or allied health assistant, and starting their adventure to further their careers, possibly, but nonetheless, lives being changed.
Yeah.
And that occurs within the classroom setting and outside of that classroom setting, but within OT. So that's what we all, That's great, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, so that was a heart-stopping moment. I think that's the other thing that I'm really, really proud of for the team, that we're united and we just want to change lives.
I love it.
Yeah.
So in terms of changing lives, what's on for the next 12 months? What are you hoping to achieve?
So we're looking at quite a few things in terms of making curriculum a bit more accessible and understandable for students. Let me go a bit of detail into that. A lot of students who come with us may have what we call language or literacy needs, and some of them may not have English as their first language. However, they form a very large part of our workforce within the aged care or disability industry. And for some of them, we do want to make sure that we give them the best opportunity and support them within their qualifications and within their learning. So I'm not saying that we change any of the course structure or the requirements. What I'm saying is that we provide reasonable adjustments and we provide support in making curriculum more understandable to them, and support them basically through their student journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we want to leverage on a bit more technology in doing that. We want to leverage a bit more in terms of what happens within class, so that the trainers are able to have that opportunity and that freedom to spend more time in more practical stuff, rather than to feel like they have to follow a checklist or a tick box in fulfilling a curriculum. So we're looking at that. We're looking at basically providing a more positive student experience or journey, making the facilities a bit more accessible to students. So as you know, some students may not be able to study at home during office hours, or they may not have Wi-Fi at home, or it's not a conducive environment, whatever. They're co-sharing with other people and that's coming and going.
Yeah.
So we want to form a student hub that will be a bit more accessible. You've got free Wi-Fi, you've got tea and coffee, you've got biscuits. More importantly, you've got a trainer that's on board there, and you can access the trainer. And you can go through questions and answers, go through your curriculum kind of thing. So we want to open that space, and we want to welcome students to come in.
And I think when I've been to the premises, and I think you were walking me through the facility and showing me all the changes that you made to make it more conducive, more open, and a more collaborative environment. I really love what you do.
Thank you.
Which brings me to the next segment.
Okay.
It's called the Bringing Sexy Back to Aged Care segment.
Okay.
And this is a segment where we talk about the pioneers in aged care or innovations and what we can do and what you would like to see more of to make the industry more attractive or more sexy. And the word sexy is not in the literal sense, but what can we do to attract people into this sector? And this is where I would like to take this moment to share with the audience why I've been looking forward to having you on the podcast, because you were probably ground zero for me. I think you were possibly the first person I met when I was recruiting in aged care to learn about aged care. And when I met with you, we had a coffee. You know, it was a great conversation. And after that conversation, this was probably 2017. I was recruiting allied health at the time. And aged care was one of the industries that I recruited in. And I learned a bit, but not too long after that. I think we caught up again in 2018, just did more conversations. I went to Brisbane to start a whole new life because we just got pregnant with our first kid. And my wife's family is over there. I didn't really tell you I was going, but you found out, you reached out. I remember I was just starting my own agency at the time.
Yep.
You reached out and said, hey, how's it going? There was nothing I could do to benefit you. And we couldn't have a working relationship because you were at, I think, Brightwater at the time. Yep. And I was in Queensland and Brightwater's only WA based.
Yep.
But you reached out to me, like, just to check up on me.
Yeah.
You said, no, when you come back, we'll have a coffee.
Yeah. Which we have.
And I was, and I wasn't used to that because having recruited in other industries, starting with mining, oil and gas, the energy and resources, that's what I love about aged care. Yeah. It's the connection, it's the stories, it's the relationships, it's the friendships. And then, once I came back, we just caught up every now and then. I don't think we ever talked business. I don't think we've ever done any business with each other. But that wasn't the point. It was just the sharing and learning.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it. And that made me think that maybe there's more Tims in aged care. And I have found more Tims in aged care.
There
I've
are
got a whole network of friendships in aged care.
Yes.
And that's why I'm here. This is people like you. I consider pioneers in aged care because of your values and how you act and how you draw people in. It's a standard of behaviors, and that's how you're elevating the industry.
I think that's a nice way to put it in terms of elevating the industry and connecting it to cCre in terms of being attractive and being vibrant and being human and relationship based, and I love that. I've loved that all along in terms of aged care. I myself wouldn't consider myself as a pioneer. However, I do want to say on camera that it's because of people who have gone before me and have shown me behaviors and they are positive role models for me. So I have a number of role models within the aged care and the disability industry that I look up to, that I still connect with. And I wouldn't be here apart from what they've invested into my life.
Yeah.
So I stand, if I may say, rather respectfully on their shoulders.
Yes.
For the person who I am functioning in this space. And moving forward, I know that I wouldn't remain in this space if not for them and for people in my team, for example. So I'm grateful all around, and that's where I am. That's where I am.
I'm grateful to have met you.
Yeah, thank you.
It could have been very different. You didn't draw me in. What would you like to see more of?
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be. It can be.
Yep.
All the inventions and innovations that are taking place. It can be collaboration. But what have you seen out there that you think that we need more of that? So
there are a couple of things I would say, and this, I guess, being a very frank and open conversation, there are a couple of things I want to see. As I said, I want to see curriculum and teaching or learning being made more accessible to workers who perhaps do not have a good grasp of English or as English as their second language. And how that could come about would be through, either just plain English in terms of policies, procedures, being able to explain to them using visuals more. It's all about, in their learning, in their inductions, remove the unnecessary words, give them more examples, make learning a bit more experiential. It's not rocket science, but I think sometimes we tend to go more to the words and feel safe within that tick a box wordy thing and curriculum rather than just talk about life and how it applies. I think the other thing within the industry is just the awareness of people within the industry that as we have a migrant workforce coming in. And when I say a migrant workforce, I mean people who have come from, in my experience, and like me, come from Asian countries, and also from, you can see people from Africa. And obviously people who cultures are quite similar to the culture here, but I'm very mindful coming from a different culture that there are people like me who have come into aged care who have come from a different culture than to the Australian culture. One of the challenges that I find for people like myself and coming from my background, from a different culture, is how do we show honor and empowerment to older people? As you know, you would know, being Asian, the word honoring and empowering do not go together for a person, an elderly person or an aged care person in aged care, basically. I'll explain that. In an Asian context, to honor somebody is to do all things for somebody, especially when they are old. From the simplest things of putting on their slippers, to giving them a cup of tea, to even being around and giving up jobs just to care for them. And that's how we see honor. The empowerment of an elderly person within an Asian context is that the person is fit enough to tell the carer what to do, and the carer does it. And that's what I've grown up with. And you would be very familiar with that. And that goes across quite a number of Asian cultures, and conversations have also told me that that goes across a number of cultures in other parts of the world as well. Whereas we know that in Australia, and what we're trying to promote within aged care, is the empowerment of older people by doing with, not doing for. So it's an engagement model. And almost right there, you can see that there's a dissonance between the idea of Asian, what we call filial piety, or honoring of elderly people, and the doing with model and engagement model in Australia. So if that's not explained fully to people of different cultures coming in, and how to be able to transition from what they've known to where they're working now, I think it presents some challenges. It also presents challenges to the recipients of care and their expectations. Because who wouldn't like to be waited on hand and foot, right?
I could do with some of that.
That's right. However, that disempowers them.
Yes.
Whether they have a disability or whether they're in a residential aged care home. And it de-skills them, it deconditions them, and it's not good. It's not in the interest of our consumers, customers, clients to have that model. And that's not what we want. So I think that's a big challenge. I see that as the other challenge, that and that would come out through a change in culture and through training, which is why I'm so passionate about what we do. It's not just training and training products, it's having the opportunity to change culture.
The doing for and doing with is, these words are used in conjunction with reablement as well. Now that's going to be a big thing this year. And I've put out a report recently, and a lot of people have asked me to discuss reablement, and it was already going to be part of the report. But there's a big push for that this year. And you've got a background as an OT yourself.
I do.
Which I will be going through your LinkedIn profile shortly. But what's your take on reablement? And I think Amana Living does employ a fair few in-house allied health staff as well. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So I think, to me, I try to not hide behind words. And I think having a background in occupational therapy just gives me the basis of talking about reablement or engagement or purposeful living, whatever the words are. the concepts within occupational therapy talk about purpose within your role and being able to be supported to function optimally in that role to achieve that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and I think that basically adds to that definition of reablement, is to provide and supports to people to be able to achieve what purpose that they want. And we talk about goals, short-term goals, long-term goals within a care plan. What are your goals? And these form the basis of purpose. And when you have a purpose, when it's purposeful, when an activity is purposeful, then there is a motivation to perform in that activity. And there is a motivation to live, to wake up, and to achieve something. And I think that goes towards the crux of reablement.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just an activity, it's an intent, and it's what's within our hearts to function as best as we can in that set role within that set time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope I'm not coming across philosophically, but that's how I see that whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're passionate about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through your LinkedIn now.
Okay.
So we'll start with your current role, July 2024 to present, for the last 9 months, head of Amana Living Training Institute. Prior to that, you were a lecturer, about a year and a half, South Metropolitan TAFE.
Yeah. So that so I'm still doing online marking.
All right. Okay.
For TAFE. Yeah. And that's just on the side.
So that would have been your first foray, I guess, into a training type of role.
Yeah.
But jumping from that straight into head of LT.
Yeah. So there was a period of time where I've actually just reflected on my career pathways, and I've been operations all this while. And when you met me, I was operations in aged care, and before that, I was operations in disability. And then I had a period of time where I was leading a team of allied health as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had so many opportunities just to explore areas within different organizations in the industries for aged care and disability. And I thought, I wonder if I could give back in a way that would use my skills and my knowledge within aged care and disability into something that I want to do, and I want to do on a longer term basis. So I started thinking and I started exploring, and I thought one of the things I could do was in training, where I could change lives.
Yeah.
And that's how I got my certificate in training. They call it TAE, and I did that, and then did the upgrades, and then inquired around and had this opportunity from TAFE, and I said, "Oh, why not? Let's."
I love that, because as someone who's been in operations, you were leading and guiding from the top down, and now you're in training and you're pushing from the ground up.
Yeah. I think it's wonderful to be able to have this opportunity where, and I use the word opportunity so much because it gives place, and it gives you a sense of where my heart is, that things that have been given to me or people who have invested in me have led to opportunities. And where the state of my heart is just, as I said before, gratefulness to these opportunities. So coming back to that, to teach and to be able to train and provide that input to perhaps a younger generation in terms of workforce, it's just, I feel honored, actually. Really do.
We are lucky to have you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Prior to the TAFE role, Executive Manager, Mosaic Community Care. Then you were Manager Accommodation Services at Nelson Group.
Yep.
Here's where I met you, Operations Manager, Residential Aged Care at Brightwater.
Yep.
And Manager, Allied Health and Support Services, Alzheimer's. Brightwater, this for 10 years.
Yep.
Manager, Disability Accommodation Services. You were at Brightwater for a long time before you explored something else and then came back to it. But prior to that, rehab consultant, CRS Australia. How did you get into aged care from there? How did you go from rehab consultant into a residential care manager role? That would have been that's jumping in the deep end.
Look, and so life story here. So we migrated from Singapore in 2005. So I did my OT degree here in Curtin. Spent the best 4 years in my life here, and then went back home, got married, had kids, and in 2005 we decided to get out of the rat race in Singapore and come here, and come to, I guess, a place where we would have liked for more work-life balance, but also a place to bring up kids.
Yeah.
It was also a place where, as an OT, that we would receive a bit more recognition and acknowledgement for the work we do, as compared to where we've come from in Singapore. My wife's a physio, so to Allied Health in the family, we thought Perth was a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
So ended up in a job in Bunbury at that time. They offered the job, and at that time there was a regional skills development fund or whatever. I wasn't paid any extra, but the government sort of recognized, because I was trained here and I met the criteria of the 100 points, that they said, hey, what about a job in Bunbury? The only stipulation is that as you work for a Commonwealth organization at that time, you would have to apply for citizenship within 2 years, which we said we would gladly. So that's how I ended up in CRS. We did employment assessments, work placements, that kind of stuff. And then from there, I actually saw an ad for Brightwater for residential care in the disability sector.
Yeah.
And we spent 3 years in Bunbury. And we said, look, maybe it's time to move up to Perth. We do miss the city. We were doing weekly, fortnightly sort of grocery runs for Asian food.
Oh, right, yeah.
From Bunbury down. And we thought, we should go somewhere where a bit more familiar. We could get a bit more Asian sort of food, sort of thing. So food was a draw for us. And then we thought,
Well, coming from Singapore, the
right?
standard of food there is amazing.
So and my wife's Malaysian, so so we were missing food. So so started the role at Brightwater Disability, and then got to know them as a very big aged care provider as well. So when I finished my disability stint with them, went out, did something else, and came back in, I was given that opportunity to then go into aged care. So that's how I went in a nutshell. How I went from an employment consultant from CRS doing pre-employment assessments, work rehab, that kind of stuff, and got into aged care.
I would say opportunity is probably top 3 in terms of reasons of in regards to why people should join aged care.
Yep.
Opportunity. If you want a career, if you want to fast track your career, if you want to, whatever you want to do, aged care will provide that opportunity.
I think, as you said, bringing sexy back to aged care, a lot of people don't see aged care as sexy. They don't see aged care as, I wouldn't even use the word sexy, even
they don't
promising.
Even see aged care. They don't see aged care. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's it. So, I see it very differently. I see aged care as not just sexy, but having so much And I wouldn't like to use the word potential because we are currently exploring that already. So, but there's so much scope and space to do stuff, to do more stuff within the technology space, within the care plus technology space, with the use of technology, and then balancing that with the human care factor. I think there is so much that potentially that we could do. And that's one of the attractions for aged care. You can do good. You can really do good. I'm not a person that would sit in front of the screen and change the world from there. I'm a person that, if I can, would have personal relationship with somebody and try to have that relationship, but also try and invest or put some positiveness in that relationship.
And that's why you're thriving in that role at Amana Living Training Institute.
I love it. I love it because people also invest in me and I get back what I put out. So it's not just, I think it's a two-way thing. So I'm blessed, really. Yeah.
Awesome. Look, I've got a question from the sponsor here.
Okay.
The sponsor is cCre. The founder of cCre, Arav Kumar, would like to ask, as we all recognize, progress notes are essential for tracking a client's progress in aged care or home care. Given that our carers come from diverse backgrounds, which can sometimes complicate documentation, what innovative solutions or strategies do you believe could help our staff write more effective and comprehensive progress notes?
That's a good question, actually, and I think it relates very much to what we were talking about, people not having a good command of English or having English as a second language, and at the same time making the curriculum or the training more accessible to them so that they can apply it at their workplace. I think one of the uses for technology would be either a voice-to-text technology that could come out. I've worked in places where care plans or even documentation is reduced to short notes or drop-down list so that the words used are consistent. Obviously, there needs to be training around what those words mean and where the paradigms are and what the frameworks are, but when you choose that from the drop-down list, you actually mean what the word says and it describes the situation. So I think that's one way to do it. So you don't have to have a lot of variations and in terms of language skills. The other thing I've seen out in the industry, which I'm hoping that would come into play from a technological base, I've seen it in a manual like a workbook, is the use of visuals. And we've seen that all the time, feedback forms having smiley faces and whatever. I think it's a thought on how we could use that to do care plans or goal planning. I've worked in an organization where instead of having goals or plans just straight out in words, they draw a goal tree, or little boxes in there, and you use very simple words. So it not only conveys what the goal is, but how it actually leads and forms a pathway to a consolidation of skills. So it's not just about making language easier, it's about, in that home framework, how language and technology comes in part to play where the whole idea forms, and it forms into a skill. And that skill becomes a habit, and that habit then becomes almost second nature to a person within the care industry. So how do you explain concepts of person-centered care, which we talk about all the time? How do you explain engagement with somebody who's may not have that concept? Visuals, videos, examples would be a way to go, and how to incorporate that using technology.
Well, you're definitely in the right role.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. I want to learn more about you. I want to share your story, who you are, so people can connect with you as well. And they see you out in the street, they can don't have to talk about work all the time.
Yeah, don't talk about work all the time. Yeah.
So this is the question I want to find out. What's something that, if the topic came up, your friends and family would say, don't get Tim started on that because he would talk forever about it. What are you truly passionate about outside of, obviously you're very passionate about aged care and what you do. Yeah. Is there any particular interests you have outside of your work?
It's a hard question to answer. I do have interests that are distinctly outside of work. So fishing is one of them.
Okay.
Movies, watching TV. My wife and I just recently got onto the bandwagon of watching Korean dramas.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So, things like that. Enjoy going for walks with family, with my wife and things. So I do that out of leisure.
Yeah. Do you walk around the neighborhood, or is there a particular trail that you go to?
Both. Sometimes we go to the hills, we walk around. Yeah. We walk around neighborhoods. Yeah.
What about fishing spots? Can you share those secrets?
Yeah, it's not really secret. Everybody goes to Fremantle, Eshed, Applecross Jetty, those places. I don't have a boat, so and I don't want to go onto the rocks when it's dark as well. Yeah. Because I'm not that sure-footed. Yeah. So I just try and remain safe.
Is it harder to catch fish these days? My dad stopped fishing because he just feels like he goes out there, he enjoys the peace and quiet, but he's getting no action.
Yeah, no, I would agree with him. So fishing and catching are two different things, right? Yeah. So I usually go out with a friend and we talk a lot, basically. Yeah. So fishing's a side benefit. Yeah. In terms of that time. The main thing is basically to catch up and to encourage each other. And then catching is just a bonus. Yeah. Basically. So we do catch stuff and size stuff. Anything that's undersized, we'll obviously throw back. Yeah.
I've only caught blowfish and seaweed.
Yeah, that's becoming quite a normal thing, really. Yeah. So there are activities that are really distinct from work. But there are also things and topics that I'm really passionate about that are connected with work or somehow has influenced my practice at work, which is, we've talked about, making a difference in somebody's life or at least saying something positive to somebody. I'll tell you a story and how that sort of came about. Yeah. There's a movie called The Notebook.
Yes.
Have you watched it?
Wife's favorite movie.
Yeah. So I've seen it numerous times. And have you seen it?
Yes, I've probably seen it more times than I like to admit.
So for those who don't know, just go and see The Notebook. Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling. I know a lot of people want to watch Ryan Gosling and they watch the movie. So that's an attraction for them. It basically talks about a couple going through dementia, or the wife going through dementia, and how the husband basically tries to reconcile that, but also reach out to her within her progression of the condition. And he used a notebook to record her stories. And when she is not able to remember, he reads the notebook. And in that phrase, she says that, when you read this, I will come back to you. Which is amazing, isn't it? So he has this window every day that he visits her in a residential aged care, and he would either do activities or with the staff, do a candlelight dinner. And for that 10 minutes, that window, he gets his wife, right? And after that, she goes back into her disease, her condition, and she gets confused, she gets frustrated, angry with him, and he doesn't have his wife for that period until the next time he has that window. And I reflected on that show and I said that I have so much capacity in whatever role that I am in, whether working or not working, to actually have a window, be given a window of time where I can deposit something positive in somebody's life, right? Every interaction is an opportunity. It's a window, right? So I can choose to influence negatively, or I can choose to influence positively. And if I've got nothing good to say, I won't say anything, right? If there's nothing positive to say about it, then let's not be false about it. You know, I'm not, you know, I don't want to be a hypocrite as much as possible.
Yeah.
But if I can, and if it allows me to be, and if there's an opportunity for me, I would like to deposit something positive, or at least end that window on a positive note. And that has become what I try to do in almost every relationship. And I think you know, from what you say, I think it's working for us, right?
It's very much working for us.
So it's working for me as well. So I get excited about this. I get excited because I see smiles from people and the relationship and the openness, and I benefit from your experience, from other people's experience, from their life stories, and I learn. So I feel like I've benefited from this, you know?
Tim, thank you so much. I really appreciate your friendship and for coming on the podcast. Cheers.
Thank you.
See you guys.